Welcome to the first 2013 Communication Commission meeting on January 16th at 7:03 p.m. Call to order. In attendance is our full crew. Yay! Happy New Year, everyone. Has everybody had a chance to read the agenda as presented? Do we have a motion to approve, or are there any changes? Do we have a second? Second. And we have a second. And second is by Sean? Okay, great. All righty. We've approved the minutes, and now we will go to the standing board. We have new people tonight, and I'd like to introduce them. Our new liaison is Lauren Smith. And then we have our other new member, Ute O'Connor, who's our new commissioner. Welcome, everyone. And why don't we start with Lauren and your Township Board Liaison presentation, please.
I don't necessarily have anything to give right now. The one thing that I do want to mention is we will have to appoint the next chair, or if Kathy stays on as chair, but that has to be voted on and brought to the March 25th meeting for our annual meeting. So that would probably be good for us to consider over the next couple of weeks and then bring that to a vote on the February meeting.
I thought we'd just take care of it tonight.
Sure, that's fine.
That's okay.
Yeah, if nobody else has
good.
any. Yep.
If that's all right.
That's fine.
We're
Yep.
all here.
Yep.
And we can handle that under new business. All righty. Ted, our Cable Department Supervisor.
All right, the other thing you guys have to vote upon before April 1st is if you want to be televised next year. All the commissions have to vote on it once a year, so that's a February or March item when you want to do it. Okay, I got a bunch of stuff here, so I'll hand this stuff out as we go along. The first item I just handed Kathy is a letter from Fred Eaton from Comcast Corporation that came to our new clerk, Eric Ranka, about a week ago. I had a conversation with Fred Eaton. Basically, it's concerned we are between uncertainty, I guess is the best word. Officially, we are operating under the 2006 Michigan Cable Act, which says that there's no local negotiation for franchise fees and franchise cable. There has been a lawsuit from the city of Detroit that initially the city of Detroit has won. I presently have our legal attorney looking at the ramifications of that. He has not come back with me. According to Fred Eaton, if Detroit wins, Comcast, WOW, Ameritech, or AT&T are going to appeal. And if Detroit loses, Detroit's going to appeal. So where we stand right now is that this is a letter basically notifying us that Comcast wants to intends to renew our agreement, which expires November 26, 2015. According to Fred, Comcast has every intention of renewing the agreement as it stands. The only downside that I see is that traditionally, when you renewed a franchise agreement, there was a little cash involved, and I don't see the cash going to be involved this time. So what we did with the cash the last time there was an agreement was this room. Ameritech at the time, which is now WOW, gave us $35,000 and Comcast gave us $40,000 when we did the negotiations, and we put all that into this room, and that's the main part of how this was developed. And they said that one of the issues that's before this commission over the course of the end of this year, next year, and the following year will be modernizing all our equipment and modernizing this room. It would have been grateful if there was some cash involved in a franchise fee, but as of right now, with the legal uncertainty and Detroit's going to appeal, or Comcast and WOW's going to appeal, there probably isn't going to be any upfront cash on the renewal of the franchise fee. But
Can we ask for it?
actually, as of right now, we can't negotiate. It's a statewide agreement. And the local municipalities cannot negotiate individually. And that's why Detroit's suing. All right, so if Detroit wins, then the power will come back to the local municipalities. But as of now, it's a state franchise. AT&T wrote the law, Comcast, well, obviously joined and saw benefit to join it. So in 2006, they changed the whole ballgame. So actually, we're living, I don't even know what the legal status is, because we're living under the agreement from 2000 when we signed with them. But in all reality, no longer stable, it's no longer in existence. We're just living under the guidelines. So basically Comcast is providing services, providing a channel for us, a channel for the school, while it's providing a channel for us, a channel for the school. Ameritech's not providing, or is providing a channel for the whole area, which we are taking advantage of, but the school isn't. And Comcast has a public access channel buried somewhere up in Southfield or Franklin somewhere that nobody can get to it. So.
But they're honoring the agreement, even though it's...
They are honoring the spirit of the agreement,
Right.
but there's no money going, other than our franchise fee, which I remind you is 5% from Comcast, 5% from WOW, and 7% at AT&T, because we had to buy the encoder and we had to pay for the G1 line to get the AT&T people to have local television.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was 3% from Comcast.
No, it's 5.
It's 5 and 5,
5,
okay.
5, and 7.
Okay, I thought it was 3, thank you.
Ted, how long is the contract for?
They're traditionally 15 years, so the expiration date in that letter states the 26th of November, 2015.
But there's no chance in them going away, it's just the
So
agreement.
Service will continue.
continue.
It's just under what law? Is it going to, they overturned the 2006 law, then somebody's going to rewrite a new law, and they're, because I'm sure AT&T and WOW and Comcast are not going to stand by idly.
Okay.
So, but Fred Eden did say, he was blunt about it, he said we're just going to operate the same way we have been operating. It's always been my concern that at some point cable companies would just pull a channel, because they can sell that to other channels a lot. It could become profitable, and that's one of the reasons we have we have the streaming video and we have the capability of providing information to the island without cable television. So we have that if they pull it.
And from everything I'm hearing, people are watching it.
And if it's wrong, they let me know.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions about that? Okay, a couple other things here. One thing I want to invite you to, over the past year, well actually a couple of years ago, it was brought up that we should seek out more cooperation with our neighbors. And I've developed a relationship with the Riverview IT department or cable department. They run their cable through their IT department. And we came up with a project about 18 months ago, and it was basically, it's a documentary on the Pay Bridge. And the documentary is done. I had very little to do with the production other than steering it, kind of help write the script. But most of the production and interviews were done by the lady that works at Riverview, Maria. She does a lot of work here. But a long story short, I think it's come out very nice, and she is going to premiere this documentary. I think it's Friday, February 1st, 7 o'clock at the Presbyterian Church. And you're all invited to stop by. No refreshments. We're going on the cheap. But it's about 40 minutes long, and she calls it Boyd's Bridge. And I didn't know, but I guess the original man who built it was named Boyd, so.
What's the date on that then?
February 1st, Friday. And after that day, I have a copy, and after that weekend, I'll start playing it every day on, just till everybody's sick of it. So probably for a couple of months we'll play it.
Ted, I'm sorry, you said February 1st at what time?
I think it's 7 o'clock at the Presbyterian Church, but I'll get an email out to you after I verify that.
Is there going to be an announcement put in the camera? Are they promoting this, advertising this already, or?
Well, basically what Maria did is she promised old people from the Smokes and everybody that represented the bridge and everybody that they got, that she'd have like a private showing. So this isn't open to the public. I'm going to use the cable commission.
I think it's called a soft open, like at a store. Because they're going to put this into a competition in the summer, Canadian Film Fest. So it's a soft rollout. It's not something they want a lot of press about.
It's very, it really goes into the history, and there's interviews with people that witnessed the accidents, and it talks about the early history of the bridge and rebuilding it, and gives the specifications. It's pretty, for a 40-minute documentary, it's pretty encompassing, and I think in the long term it'll be a nice piece in the museum for future people to,
And they
have
are,
their
correct me if I'm wrong, but they worked with the Historical Society on Grosse Ile to.
Maria actually, contacted the Burton Center downtown, and we needed some pictures of a historic brewery, so we made a trip up to Frankenmuth and shot some photos up there, and there's a lot of historic pictures in it. So I was surprised at how well it came out, and I just wanted to mention, if you're interested, it'll be on that day. Let's see what else I got here.
Did you say Boyd's Bridge? B-O-Y-D?
B-O-I-G-T.
I thought it was Voigt, V-O-I-G.
B-O-I-G.
There's a Voigt Street. Yeah, it's Voigt.
Voigt.
It's V-O-I-G-H-T.
Yeah, I guess you owned the whole north end of the island.
Yeah, he did.
100 years ago. Okay, this is an update. We have at presently, especially for the new members, we have a RFP out for a website design. As of today, Dale has received, I think, 4 or 5 inquiries, which he has answered. I guess, what's the date out? February, the end of February?
February 7th.
All right, so in the next meeting, we'll have whatever proposals have come in. I don't think we've got a firm, I don't know, have you got a firm proposal? And I know we've gotten a bunch of inquiries, so.
There has not been a bid coming yet.
But anyway, I just wanted, does anybody need a copy of that?
I would like one, Ted.
And you all have had them sent you too, so it is on your email,
Is it?
just so you know that.
Madam Chair? Ted, I have a question for you. Do you know, for instance, if this RFP was also posted on the Michigan Intertrade website? Where they put out?
No, I know Kathy sent me a copy and I put it on our website. That's the only thing I've done.
It was sent you on December 10th. It was posted, and it was sent to the Eel Camera.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Sure.
Okay, the other thing, the next thing I wanted to bring up is Kathy and I
Thank you.
attended a meeting here in this room with the school board and officials and Brian Loftus concerning Granicus. Granicus is a provider for our streaming video and our archiving. I guess at the last meeting of the board on Monday, a topic near and dear to my heart, paperless meetings, was brought up and discussed, and the discussion was started. I first heard about paperless meetings probably in 98, 99 when some communities like Troy, Birmingham, and Bluefield Hills and stuff started going into that. I think it's actually even more feasible today than it's ever been. What we have to do as a commission, we have to update our encoder. right now, we bought the encoder about 2.5 years ago. We own the encoder, and basically the encoder is where the video goes into the encoder, it turns it into computerese, and sends it to Granicus, and it sends it to AT&T, so the AT&T customers can have video. What we need to do is we need to get an upgraded encoder, which will allow us to turn our video into an application so smartphones can get it and iPads can get it and whatever else they've come up with in the last 2.5 years. So what we have to do is we're not going to buy a new encoder, we're going to lease it. And it's a down payment of $2,500 and $100 a month. And I've got all the information here, so you can have it.
Ted, that was approved there was a motion made last time about it and approved.
In December?
November.
All right, well, basically, I want everybody to know what we're going to do, so
Yeah.
the other part about it is the township board is going to have, and Eric are going to have to decide. We have, at the moment, duality on our services. We are paying Granicus money for services we're not using, and we're paying another company for services that basically minutes and agenda. We are going to have the capability to have minutes on demand, agenda on demand, and one of the things this will be able to do is, if, as a consumer, if you go to an archive meeting and you want to see when Ted stood up and talked, you can type my name in and it'll tell you what meetings I was at, and if you go to a specific video and type my name in and say Ted talking about Granicus, it'll go right to that spot of the video, so consumers don't have to. We are not using that service right now, but with this new encoder that we're going to upgrade to, it'll allow us to do that, and they'll also archive the minutes and mark the minutes. So if you go to a specific spot in minutes and hit however they encode it, it'll go right to that spot in the video, so you can actually check the minutes against the video. And we're not using that because we're paying another service to archive our minutes. So there's going to have to be a decision made on one or the other. So,
Ted, just out of curiosity, is this proprietary that they're doing, the encoding and all that? The reason I'm asking is, if Granicus, I'm not familiar with the company, but what if they go out of business? Is there another company, a competitor that can come in and pick up where they left off?
We addressed that, and I don't remember their answer right offhand.
We did address that, and it's been quite a while, but
we met with them in October. Yeah, I think
they would hand us the data, but again, without their software, if I'm not mistaken. There were little glitches to it. Am I wrong?
See, that's...
It's been quite a while, but
they updated. I don't remember the details, but they reassured us that we would have access to the data if they went out of business, which they didn't see them, because they're in 50 states and 900 communities right now. So, and I think it's backed up because I think it goes to Oregon.
I thought
they also have an East Coast backup, so it's they're backing each other up. I think it's Virginia and Oregon. They have
data centers across for backup, for disaster recovery. I get that. I guess my next question, I know this is a closed deal, but what made you go with Granicus? Was there a proposal, an RFP for other companies as well?
We, this goes back 4 or 5 years. We were looking for that. We tried some free services and we were unsuccessful streaming and archiving, and we found Granicus, contacted them, and had them come out, make a proposal to the commission and Brian, and after much discussion, we voted on it and went with them.
It's been well received.
Yeah, the reason we chose Granicus is because we talked to others, but the reason Granicus appealed to us is that this encoder that they sold us solved two problems. It solved streaming and archiving, 24/7 streaming and archiving, but it also gave us these two outlets on this encoder. It gave us the ability to send the signal to AT&T. Because in order to get AT&T, we had to buy an encoder and the T1 line, send it to AT&T so they could put it on channel 99. And this solution was appealing to us because it offered streaming, archiving, and the AT&T solution for what we thought the initial encoder was going to cost us just for the AT&T solution. So basically, that was the reason we went with Granicus. Solve two problems.
Have you ever thought about doing something like YouTube?
Yeah, I haven't. We have a YouTube
channel.
Unused YouTube account, but that was set up with some of my experts that are now in college that I had to recontact. I'll be honest with you, the kids dragged me into the new technology. So.
Something to consider. I mean, it is free and it does the archiving and.
I think Granicus is, from when I was talking to some of the other, when we were talking about bids last year, they were saying, well, we have these capabilities, but Granicus is really the premier. I mean, when you have your competitor complimenting Granicus, it's kind of like, I guess we went with the right one. They seemed very high on them, and they're the competitor.
Is this what the other municipalities are using then?
A lot of them do, yes.
Our neighboring municipalities?
That I can't tell you.
What about Riverview? Is
I
that?
think we jumped into it. We jumped into it.
I think people have come to us since then.
We've jumped into it before a lot of the neighboring. But like I said, the real reason we were going to have to buy an encoder anyway. We were collecting 2% a month from all our AT&T customers, and not providing from 2007 or 8, whenever we went online with AT&T, we weren't providing them service till 2 years ago. So we were going to at some point buy an encoder.
Sure.
And get it into it. It was in the prices that I was getting was $7,000-8,000 for this unit. So when we started talking about, we did some pre-streaming. I think Ustream, I think was the company we went to, and it was, it was on again, off again, on again, and then this company offered us not only streaming, archiving, minutes, capability, and all this other stuff, it offered us the AT&T solution. So that's why we.
So AT&T runs on a different format?
Yeah, it's basically a computer channel. The channel 99 has. You go to channel 99, it has a menu there of all the municipalities that it serves in this area, everywhere from Chico Harbor, I think Woodhaven's on it, we're on it, Inkster, Garden City, Bloomfields, Grosse Points, and basically you go to whatever channel you want, click on that, it'll come up on AT&T, but it's all on the same channel, channel 99. So as an AT&T customer, you can watch Warren, Birmingham, West Bloomfield.
You can actually go back and forth, and it's kind of neat. So you get Grosse Ile cable, Grosse Ile meetings, Grosse Ile events, but if you're interested in seeing what's going on in another town, and conversely, people in other towns, as long as we're on there, can also see what's going on Grosse Ile. So I'm an AT&T customer.
So the main benefit is really for AT&T as opposed to WOW or Comcast subscribers?
What, the streaming?
Yeah.
Right. It provided service to the AT&T customers, because AT&T never had any intention of providing local television. I mean, they gave one channel to the whole community, and we're paying it. Comcast and WOW, pick up the cost of local television. AT&T forces the community to pick it up.
Okay.
And that was the wave of the future, because that was the last agreement that we signed, was with AT&T.
Well, and I still haven't talked to the WOW people, but by the way, if you got any complaints about Wall was messing up over the holidays. From Taylor on south, they were one of my basketball girls. They had trouble. All the communities from Taylor on south had intermittent service. I guess it was operating well during the day, and at 5, 6 o'clock it was shutting itself off. So from what I can tell, talking to a couple other people that, run communities, it's all been fixed, but it was a widespread problem.
In November, we already voted to purchase this.
So it's a done deal.
Basically,
It's a lease.
the other benefit of upgrading is, besides the new services and the ability to start providing, the word escapes me, the iPhone capability and iPod capability. Now I lost my thought. I'm getting Alzheimer's real quick up here. There was one other benefit. Go ahead, Pete.
Just a quick question while you're thinking then, Ted. This is here, just on page 2, it just says like, we'll receive the ability to use iLegislate application for iPad. What about people that have Droid-based tablets?
At the moment, they were developing.
Yeah, they were working
right
on it.
now.
Is that
This was as of October. I haven't talked to the salesman. I'm not sure what the status is. I'm sure I'm going to hear from him tomorrow morning because I gave him the date of this meeting, and I'm sure I can ask that.
Yeah, I would just be curious because
That
not
was
everybody
brought up.
has iPads. Some
Yeah.
people have
I think-
tablets, Nooks, what have you, which is Droid-based.
I think Supervisor Loftus brought that up.
Yeah, he asked the question.
And this is a lease, and the big push about it was that they will replace it as things improve.
Yeah, we're never gonna
We
have
never have to
to
buy it
have
again.
it.
That was a big thing. You're paying for it once, but they will keep upgrading it so that we don't have a problem with not having the right technology to match what they're sending out, and that was a big push.
Anytime they upgrade the technology, we will be upgraded. And if we have we will have a backup if it ever fails on our end, and they have 24/7 service. So as soon as we call them, they give us a replacement, because if it breaks down, it's their responsibility from here on in. And they'll get us a new one, but we'll also have a backup that we could hook up real quick and continue service. Oh, okay, the next thing I want to bring up
Ted, real quick, how long is the lease for?
is for a year, I think. Initially, it's $100 a month,
Okay.
right? And we have, yeah, it's $100 a month, I guess we're not, as long as we keep it,
Right, and then when are they going to install it?
Well, we haven't made a I think it takes 4 to 6 weeks once
Okay.
you sign the contract, so it'd be probably by March or April 1st.
Actually, the proposal is calling that $2,500 upfront for hardware,
Well, if we're gonna get a home, that's a
the down
a
payment.
down payment like when you lease a car, And we're not, the whole cost, the initial cost of a new unit was $6,000, so I'm sure they figured that the lifespan of that will be 2-3 years, and they'll bring another one in. But they'll replace it from now, that's our last cost. Something that we have to do is it just keeps getting brought up by the administration and Brian over the last 4 years. The school and us as a commission. The school sat in on a lot of these over the last couple of months. Kathy and I have seen some demonstrations on equipment, and the school has been very anxious to upgrade your channel, which is being held together by bubblegum and baling wire and stuff. But when they get the cost of what they need to do, they don't have the money to do it. So there is now the question has been asked by the school, can we cooperate more? What can we do? Can they buy some of our old equipment? Because, they're aware of what we're looking at. So what we have to do is make a decision. The last budget that we did at the Cable Commission with the board, it was suggested that we look at all our equipment and come up with a capital improvement plan, find out what it would cost, and basically renovate and upgrade our technical capability to provide meetings and television, which hasn't been upgraded since 2000. Now, all the equipment we purchased in 2000 was like 1999 equipment, so we're looking at equipment at the end of the next year will be 15 years old, which includes these cameras, these big monsters that we got here, and in the control room, the computer that we're using is now, the company that made it is no longer in service, and the company that bought that, it's hard to get a hold of. So our switcher, our Trinity computer that we bought in 1998 is still working, but very delicately, and we put in some tricks to fool it some days. So over the course of the year, we've had people come out, look at the state of our equipment, give us a few bids. We've looked at new equipment, and we basically came up with a 3-year plan, which includes what's left of the budget this year, capital improvement money next year, and capital improvement the following year. And what we've decided is, or what we hope to do is, this year, if you time it just right, like March 31st and April 1st, you can use money from this budget and the next budget. Replace the cameras in this room, which there's been absolutely no work on them. They're 3-chip digital with high definition, smaller cameras. Replace the switcher in the control room, and all the television capability in the control room. That would be the first year. The second year, really work at the sound system, and the third year, the way that we send the meetings out. Right now, we use a electronics unit that's like 3 generations old, and with this new equipment right now, Airwave is the brand name that we've been looking at. Electronics has a new unit called Nexus, and they're self-contained units to set up the video to the different channels, and it has many more capabilities. But anyway, it's a 3-year capital improvement plan. Where the fly in the ointment comes in is the school wants to get involved with this. They either want 2 options. They want some of our old equipment, because they're even further back than we are. They're a generation or 2 behind us, or the option of televising from this room. But that's a decision that I can't make, and I don't think as a board you could. I mean, I'm sure we would welcome them, but I think there needs to be some discussion. Lauren, you might have to work with the board to lead that and see if it's function to get the school to come down here, and we could send their channel out here, you know, at what cost, I don't know. Or they have, the other option is they have a newer switcher that, you know, it's a TriCaster, is the unit we're looking at. They have a TriCaster, but that's the only really good piece of equipment they got. So if we were to marry our services, there'd be equipment that we have that we could provide to them, and they could let us use the TriCaster. The quality of their replay, the ability for them to play more and more on their channel would triple. Right now, the only thing they have going out is the live feed, because their playback is just not working. All right, so it needs to be, before we totally decide what we're going to do, this idea of working together with them should be explored.
Have you done a needs analysis of what we need here as a township, as well as has the schools done?
Yeah, we had people come out here and tell us, basically, we're living on a prayer right now.
Right.
I mean, you guys know about electronic equipment, and we're talking about stuff that's 15 years old.
That's equipment-wise, but also
Timing.
When you look at just other resources, as far as you know,
Meetings.
if we're going to be recording more meetings, if, you know, what else could we
Well,
be doing in the community? What
it'd
do we
probably be some
stop?
juggling. I mean, right now, Tuesdays is first Monday's open, the second Monday is, no, first Monday is open space, second Monday is DPS, third Monday is bike, fourth Monday is ZBA, or Tuesday. So you would have to take, but there are open dates, and they televise one meeting. They tell, you know, so there'd be a date, you know,
One a
for
month?
Wednesday, I mean, they might have to change the date to accommodate it, but there are open dates. We, basically, we put like 8 or 9 or 10 meetings, depending on cancellations here, plus we still cover their meeting. You know, I pay people to go over there and cover their meeting. No charge to them. But their meeting is shown once. The quality of it is, they have really one shift, their cameras that are, you know, they opened that in 2000, so they're going on 13 years old. Their playback is a generation behind ours, and it's not working.
And the stuff that we're looking at is commercial grade equipment, correct? Or is
Right.
this, because I mean, realistically, if you think about just consumer grade, I mean, this has probably got more capabilities than just about everything, unfortunately, in this room. So again, going back to a needs analysis, do we need to replace every piece of equipment? Is there things that we can do with smaller technology that is probably lower cost, that could be replaced more easily and maybe more effectively if we don't sign long-term contracts for leases and things along those lines?
Well, we
You know.
don't have any lease on any equipment.
Well, yeah, at
we
this
own.
point.
Well, the only thing that we would think of leasing is because of the streaming, but
Right.
everything here we own.
Ted, you talked about the 3-year plan, and you outlined for us things like the switcher and the cameras and stuff. Maybe for the next meeting, it would be helpful for us to see
Yeah,
that in writing.
that'd be great.
And
All right.
look at this. Madam Chair, if I can ask,
Help yourself.
That's an estimate. That's the last time we went to,
Ann Arbor?
last year I attended a session that was put on by the Michigan Association of Planning, and one of the sessions they talked about was intergovernmental agreements. And it's something actually that Sharon Gray knows quite a bit about, and Dale Riem, and it might be something to raise with the board. And Tim Rooney, the Recreation Department has a number of intergovernmental agreements between the township and the schools, the township and local cities like Riverview, Trenton, and so forth. And what these agreements, there's actually online where you can get templates for the things to look for in these agreements. And obviously it's something that the governor wants communities to engage in. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, before we built this building, there was talk of the township and the schools uniting in the 1911 building and creating a municipal complex. And obviously that never happened. But there are opportunities here, I think, that Ted is bringing up for the two governmental entities to work together to share costs and resources. And one of those intergovernmental agreements can be used to say, you use the word marry services. This is what we can bring to the marriage. This is what you bring to the marriage. And I think one resource that the schools have that we really enjoy having access to is the kids and the classrooms where the kids are interested actually in working for TED and working for GITV. And so there's opportunities not just from the technical or the equipment side, but also on the human resources side, right? And I mean, that's where the innovation comes from too, is these kids come in here and they show us, what is new, what is hot, and how to get our word out there. So I think this is a dialogue that's really worth starting.
Basically, what I'm suggesting is, that I don't know if it would come from this commission, or Lauren would have to be the lead person with the board, but I'd like to see a meeting with Bill Ice and Tony Krakowski, and obviously Mr. Loftus, and maybe the clerk's department, and Lauren and you, and see if the school is interested in. The school would have to, they like their autonomy, I'll be honest with you. They like being in a different building than us. They like having their own. But to be honest with you, they don't have the money to upgrade to where they got. What they have is very old cameras. They have an excellent switching system in the TriCaster, which is computerized and digital, and they can record right to it. But once they record to this TriCaster, the unit to send it out and playback, they have to translate it back to tape. And they put it on a Panasonic 1968, that's the model number, Super VHS deck that A has never been cleaned and B was bought in 1999. So you cannot, in fact, you cannot even get parts for this thing anymore. So basically they can record it and make it look nice with graphics and everything, but then they have to take it down back to tape and play it back on tape. And they don't have the ability to play it back from the TriCaster and send it out, you know, at today's technology. So what Tony and I have talked about is, you know, I mentioned this unit called the Airwave, which is a playback machine that would, you know, would accept the signal from the TriCaster and then send it out to WOW and send it out to Comcast. So it would send it back, you know, in its original digital form. But they didn't have the money to buy that. So what I was thinking is, if we have this meeting, they set priorities, we had come out and know where we're going to go together, maybe in our plan, instead of purchasing year one's idea that we've come up with, maybe we purchase year three, which is a unit, the Airwave, which would allow us, if they would come here, we could send out multiple channels from this location, and which would solve their playback. It would upgrade how much stuff they can send out, upgrade, you know, because let me go back once, our playback right now, and I think I've told this commission story a couple times, broke about 3 years ago. And I took it to Holt Lansing near Holt, Michigan, and I gave them our unit. And they said, well, here, use this unit until we fix your unit. They got our unit, I got their unit. Their unit's working, they haven't called me up asking for it, so I'm not telling them about it, because it's basically a loaner. I'm using the loaner car for 3 years here. So our equipment is already denigrated, so at some point we're going to have to upgrade it. So, but what I'm looking at is, instead of us doing something and then forcing them to do something, if there is a will, if there's a ability to work together, which we haven't cemented, let's see if we can get that done, and then together we can make smarter decisions.
I was going to ask you, do you know currently if the high school has any kind of a video production class that they teach or anything like that?
When they built the media center, if you've been in their library, there's a room, if you go all the way through the library, there's a room that was designated for media, but once again, because of budgetary, they haven't really progressed. If the kids at Grosse Ile want to take media, they get bused over to Gibraltar, because Gibraltar has a video class.
Let me ask you, how long are these prices good for?
I'm sure we'd have to get them 90 days, I think they were. And when I got them, I told Paul Tyson that we met. I told Paul that we wouldn't do anything until the end of the budget year. He understood that. So that these would probably be ballpark at the moment. Those were, what did we see them in October?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
We went and saw them in October, so I'm sure it's 90 days.
60 days is what it says.
It says right here, yeah.
60 days is on the quote.
Well, we've always thought, and we're not locked into Zollner. I mean, that was the beginning, and Paul understands that if we bought all this stuff, we'd go out for bid. there aren't as many video suppliers out there as there was. There's a new one in Lansing, in Livonia I just heard about, so I haven't checked into them. But Paul, Thalner did us a service by evaluating our equipment and giving us a ballpark figure of what, and basically these are things we asked for. So they weren't pushing anything, these are things that I asked them about. I mean, there's different options on it. Like I said, the playback unit we used from a company called Latronics, which is a leader in that. They have a unit that's almost like the Airwave. It's called a Nexus, and I haven't priced that out. But before we get that far, I really would like to make this decision and see if the school. I know last term it was a high priority on Brian's list, cooperation between the school. And we had Bill Ice come to a meeting about 2 years ago with Tim Rooney, and we discussed everything the school does for the rec department, which is, if you sit down and think about it, the school provides so much to the rec department. And I go back to when I first hired in and I first ate lunch with Tim, and Tim sat me down and said, hey, listen, treat the schools good because the schools treat me good. So we've been kind of operating on a handshake. I know there's communities have agreements, but it's kind of been, if the school needs something, we've been providing it, because if Tim needs something, the school's been providing it. So we've kind of been, give and take. Like, for instance, in December, the school had a real long assembly. I've been out of school for a while. Assembly on bullying and respect. They brought a person in from another high school and they called us up and asked us to tape it for them, and we did. And it was just kind of like reciprocal. So that's how we've been operating. But like I said, I really would like, before we proceed and maybe make not a mistake, but if we go in a direction that we could have made a better decision and help the schools and us, I'd like to do that.
Well, I think that's a smart idea, and I think I can certainly coordinate a meeting between all the individuals, Kathy, yourself, Brian, and all the folks from the school district, so that we can get everybody in the same room to talk about our needs and our wants and see where we can fill in some blanks. And
I can't tell you how much that would help. I really, it's all the same island, it's all the same kids.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I know it's two governments, but it's us,
Well, and Ted, remember, 100 years ago when you came on board, and I don't know if Sean was on the commission because Sean's been on the commission in the past. One of the original tenets of the franchise agreements were that the resources be split between the schools and the township, and for many years we even had a school board liaison or a school liaison active on the commission. Obviously the scope of this commission has grown and changed, way beyond just looking at the agreement, and the agreement essentially is a handshake now too, right, our franchise agreement. But it would certainly honor that past history if our two groups could come back together and work together.
Basically, to be honest with you, I have not been covering as many school events for two reasons. They probably have stopped asking. I have never really said no to them, but I'm not seeking them out like I used to. I used to go to them, and because I had all these kids working for me, and they'd say, well, this is happening, and I'd call up, hey, you want this covered? Because of budgetary constraints, where I'm not sending as many out, we did cover the 5th grade Christmas concert, and we covered when the football team was trying to get to states, we followed them. But we haven't chased down as many school events as we used to, which, those are the fun events. I saw one the other day, and I thought maybe I'm too late, they're going to have a math bee or like a spelling bee at the middle school, and I almost picked up the phone today, but I slapped my own hand, so I didn't do it. But
Well, and remember too, when the township sold Township Hall on Macomb Street, and for all intents and purposes, we didn't have a boardroom. We moved to Hangar 2. The schools took us in. I know there were arrangements made, there were, handshakes, obviously, but they made it very easy for us to transition to host our meetings either in the middle school music room or at Park Lane Elementary School. And I think it just makes sense for us now that they're running into some issues that we reach out to them as well.
And I would suggest that if we, and I think it's a great idea for us to merge, but I would suggest that if we do that, that maybe we suggest to them that it would be great if there were a video, class. Because then, I understand they're part of a consortium and they probably go to these other schools as part of that deal. But if we had it here, then those same kids could be the kids that could come and work with you. They could cover more events, on their own as well. And I think it would benefit everyone in the long run, and especially the kids who would get that experience.
Well, they did have a plan. I remember Jennifer Park, when she was on this commission, she was trying to set it up where they would, stream their games on the webpage and stuff like that. So, that's all. And I guess I'm repeating myself now.
I think we've talked about it enough, and we've got a good plan. Lauren, you'll get back to all of us with a date? Okay.
I just have one question,
I'm sorry.
Kathy.
Go ahead.
Maybe I missed it, but is there analysis schedules or notes that detail the need for all this equipment? You said there was a needs assessment, and maybe you've already shared it, but this isn't...
Back in April and May of last year, Zollner came out and they sent two different gentlemen out, and basically it was that we walked through together and looked at the equipment, looked at the dates, and they installed all this, so they were aware of the history of most of it. There's a gentleman by the name of Art that comes out, and it was basically a walkthrough, him and I together, and then they went back and the quotes that I sent you are from when Kathy and I went to Zollner. I have a recommendation of equipment that they suggested from May that I probably passed out earlier, but they just sent back a recommendation of you need this and you need that.
So do we have a written needs assessment or analysis?
I'm not sure. I have a list of equipment they suggested that we replace our equipment with. I mean, basically, they said our cameras could go out at any time, and basically every time we turn on the stuff in the other room, I have to jiggle this knob and reboot this. And the other thing is the equipment that the audio and the Panja unit is what we're replacing. Has already been replaced in 2005 or 6. We had a major accident with our air conditioning unit that's in that room to keep it cool, froze up, and soaked everything. So we had to replace it, and at that time, there was no new equipment, so we had to use, we're using refurbished equipment in that room. The electronics and the computer units are refurbished, so.
Probably the needs is it's 15 years old.
If you're asking, did they say
Well,
this piece of equipment is a discontinued?
Yeah.
No, they just said that they sent me a list of what we should replace this
To be compatible.
But when you add this up, this is a lot of money, and for someone like me, I just don't know what it all means. And I think it would be important to understand what we're spending the money for and why we need to spend the money.
Is that in the 3-year
Well,
plan?
they did not say this camera is in this shape. Basically, after looking at the 3 cameras, which are not high definition, they said you cannot replace. These cameras are. When I asked them what should I do with them, can you sell them? They told me to use them as boat anchors.
Ted, can I just interrupt? It says here on the proposal, we propose the following leading edge playback automation solution. From that, I take it that this is what these are the items that we need to be able to record and play back. This is, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing you need, it's like when you get a pattern to sew something,
The notions
Package
list.
tells you, you need this, you need that, right, Kathy? A notions.
Notions list, yeah.
That, in order to make this outfit, you need this equipment. I'm reading it this way. Is there fat in this? I guess what Bob is asking, is there fat in this? Is there extra stuff in here that needs to be
There's
done?
nothing extra. Basically, what they came out and told us is that we're living on a prayer.
Okay.
And that was a verbal, that wasn't written. They basically said, you know, your cameras, you know, this camera here is acting up on us all the time. Sometimes the camera operator will stop it, and I don't know if you ever watched it, and all of a sudden it's just roams. You know, that kind of stuff. And basically they looked at all our equipment and said, it's not worth fixing, we need to replace it based on the life of electronics.
No, the only point I'm trying to make is if we're going to spend $62,000, we should have some kind of document on file that justifies the spending of the dollars, particularly for those who aren't technical. And if we're going to vote on this, I think we should understand what the process that went by. I see numbers, but I don't know what's behind them.
We're not even close to voting on it right now. Basically, like I said, what I'm trying to do is, I'd like to vote on it next month. But what I'm trying to do is put some time and some research in is there a better way. But as far as the equipment goes, when Kathy was there, they told us it could go any time. And it's not worth replacing with old equipment because most of this stuff is not replaceable. All right?
Do we have an inventory?
I don't have a inventory in the last couple of years.
No, we do have something.
I have an inventory, but it includes all this, but
Yeah, I sent it out, remember? We got an inventory of the equipment.
But I mean, if you took an inventory and they went line by line and detailed the condition of it, and it needs replacement and why it needs replacement, that's your document.
Well, we did not do that.
They didn't go to that extent. They went with the years,
The experts came in here
15 years.
and looked at it, and probably some of it was based on the date and the age of the equipment, and it basically said if it breaks, it can't be replaced.
So Ted, why don't you, I mean, if you're looking to get a proposal, what Bob is asking is obviously very valid. Have you sent this out to other people for, to do an analysis as well? That will validate this or invalidate it based off of the other people's responses.
Yeah, because this is just one quote, right?
Yeah, this is just one company. This is Stelner, right?
You want
So-
an RFP on this.
That is correct. I mean, you should actually send it out like Blue Water, for example, okay? Blue Water can come in and do an analysis of this equipment, and they could say, you know what, I agree to with everything they said here, or they can come back and say, you know what, I partially agree, or I totally disagree with what they have here. You're not living on borrowed time. This key element in the switcher, I'm just making all of this up, for example, in the room over there is the only piece that really needs to be upgraded. Now, if you want to take this equipment and donate it to the school and upgrade, to tie it into your future plan, that's an option. But I'm just saying, right now, all I'm seeing, I agree with Bob, is it's one quote. This is one person telling you you're on borrowed time.
I have one other.
Well, that's not what that's telling me, all right?
Well, that's what you said.
No, that's not what I said. I said they came in and looked at our equipment. I told them how it's operating, how it's not operating, what we're doing to make it operate, all right? And then I told them what I would like to do. And that is a quote on what I asked them to tell me how much it would cost for what I would like to do, all right? They're not sending that to me based on their analysis. I listened to their analysis and then looked and saw how I would correct this system, that system, and this system. There's like 4 different systems in that room. And so then I said to them how I would like to do it and what timetable I'd like to do it on. And then we went and looked at the things that I asked them to show me, and they showed it to me, and then I asked them to send me a cost for what I asked them. So that is not based on they saw an opportunity to come in and say that, look, get rid of that camera. They just basically said, well, if that camera malfunctions, it's not even worth fixing.
And while we're talking here, I'm just thinking about something that Lauren said about the iPhone having this capability. And trust me, I'm not a tech person. I have learned how to use it. But long story short, I hear on the media, I hear on the news, you know, that in the future, and I don't know how far in the future, they expect most of our television experience to come through the internet or through computers. I know they're selling TV computers at the Apple store, you know, where you're getting all that. So I'm thinking too that while we're looking at replacing equipment for television, and again, to know that I don't know if this is the same kind of equipment you would use to create a video to then play back on the internet. But you know how our phones went from wires to voice over internet protocol, and it changed a whole number of things. I'm wondering if we also look at an alternate list, you know, for what would we need if there was a sea change in the way television was broadcast. You know, what would we need if there was a shift in the way television was being used? Would we look at replacing something for 15 years, or would we look at 5 years? Because in 5 years, the whole game is going to change. So that might be something we want to consider as well.
Which is part of the needs assessment. I agree, you need a needs assessment followed up by an RFP with at least a minimum of 3 quotes back. That's just good business.
And I think talking to schools would probably be helpful.
This is a favor by a company to give me a ballpark idea to develop a plan.
This is a start.
To go forward. This is you know, I reached out to a company that we have had a wonderful relationship to design this room, that knows this room inside and out, and said, okay. And let me step back and then kind of answer who they had to say. The criteria I told them is kind of on a personal basis. I turned 60 years old this year. I plan on retiring probably in 6 years. When I leave here, over the course of the next 3 years, I want the township to be in a position that we're not in year 2000 looking at 220. I want them to be in year 2015 with equipment that's going to last them through 2030. All right, this is the last upgrade that I'm going to personally do for this township or oversee. So that was the criteria. We've had situations where we've gone into technology and purchased year-old technology, and by the time it was installed on our desks, it was 18 months old, and by the time we learned how to use it, there's another generation of technology already out there, and we're behind. So what the criteria I told Zollner is, I want cutting edge. When we upgrade, it's not going to be upgraded to 2010 or 2009. I want to upgrade to 2013, 14, 15, wherever it is. So that was the first thing. You know, I don't want to leave with, you know, in 2020, the township's looking at another $60,000 to upgrade to whatever the technology leads to do that. So that was the first thing. The second thing is that we're talking about what this quote is and what this beginning of this exercise is for the systems for us to record the meetings, not to send it out in whatever format, but first of all, just the ability for a 3-camera shoot in this room, which is now a television studio, and to upgrade from 1999 technology to 2015 technology. All right, so that's the other criteria. So the ability to send it out to internet television, that's the streaming, that's the Nextel, that's the third part of the system. The Airwave or the Nexus or whatever we purchased to send it out, gave us the capability so that the residents can get it on. Right now, they can get it on their computers, but we're looking at so they can get it on their iPhones and iPads and whatever they've developed in the last 2 years. So we're looking at that solution. But the cameras and the recording and the directing, that's just basic TV technology that we're upgrading. All right, so
We might want to do an RFP. We might want to sit down and get bids on what you vision.
we will. Just understand what I handed you
It's a
is a
start.
favor from a company to give us where an idea,
A starting point.
based on what I told them, an idea of what my idea was going to cost.
Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you wanted to have us vote on this next month. I mean,
No.
We have a month.
Before we vote on it, I
That's what I
want
said.
to get with this group, with the school, and find out,
It's,
what I want to present to the township as part of the budget is an idea, an outline of a 3-year capital improvement plan. And like the last part of this, as I vision it, won't take place to the budget of, 2015. So I'm looking at 3 years, and what's it going to entail is we are collecting somewhere between $180,000 and $190,000 in franchise fees. The cable commission's only been, this year we spent $115,000. So the money's there from franchise fees to pay for this, except we're going to have to get the board to say, yeah, you can use an extra $30,000 or $20,000 or $30,000. So that's the first thing we're going to have to convince the board to let us show them this capital improvement. But this initial plan came from Ted, to be honest. So that's all I'm trying to develop.
It's actually exciting, but Lauren, you're going to take this to the board. What do you need to take to the board to make this happen? Because,
Well, I think that they're gonna want a lot. I mean, we have to do.
We're a long way from that.
Yeah, I think
Long way.
definitely a needs analysis, a wish list of, what we want versus what we need. I think looking long-term as well as immediate future, looking at, other resources, whether it's purchasing, inventory off of eBay, looking at all the options that are out there, partnering with some of the, other communities, whether it's, we have them come in with their 3 cameras and we don't replace cameras, but we just send it out on the feed out. There's a lot of options. I think that we're going to need to actually have to explore those options. So I think, yeah. The first step is, to me, in my mind, is we need to sit down with the school district to find out what exactly they're looking at, and then how
See
we
if it's
can-
cooperative first.
Exactly.
Start with the first step. Let's see if everybody wants to play.
Well, like if the school, if we could do it, I mean, the switcher that the school has, we can use here. So I mean, that's a possibility, and then they can use our playback equipment. That's kind of like the trade-off.
Well, I think Lauren and Bob and Sean have all kind of outlined, I think, a rudimentary plan that maybe in the next month, before next meeting, or in the next 2 months, we find out, do the schools want to, as Kathy say, play? And then we find out what, if they do want to play, we do a needs assessment for both organizations, or we do one where everyone on this commission feels comfortable saying, yes, we agree, this is what we need, so that Lauren can actually take something to the board that says, this is the map of the future for televised meetings on Grosse Ile. And then when they buy into that, we can generate an RFP and then go out for the competitive bids. And I think using internet things like the State of Michigan bid system and so forth, we can actually expand our outreach to get bids from even farther afield. I know that this is a specialty field, and not everyone is going to bid on it from Southeast Michigan. We might get bids from other areas. I mean, one of the original designers of this came from Wisconsin or Minnesota. But that we then actually do follow that process. And it's going to take time, you know, this won't happen from today till tomorrow, but that will give us a roadmap on where we're going.
I'd like to explore the idea of putting that into motion, some kind of a 3 or 4 point plan, so that, you know, we verbalized a lot, but I'd hate to lose it all and see it not happen the way we talked about. So I think it's appropriate that we put it in the form of a motion that highlights the 3 or 4 main points.
I brought this up, but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. First of all, let me understand that the idea to do this came from the board, came from the treasurer, came from Ted Van Oss in a meeting with him and Brian at our last budgetary meeting. So the meeting, the germ of the idea started with him. All right. Where we are right now, I don't want to make any decision until we find out what's the best way to operate. Do we have a partner or we don't have a partner, right? You know, the old line from The Godfather, if the money's on the table when I get up, wake up from my nap, I have a partner. If I don't, I don't, you know. And so that's what we need to do, find out if we have a partner in this. Then if we have a partner, then we can trim it down. Also, if you look at I know you're concerned about the cost. The cost in interchange is old enough that estimate includes all the wires, all the nuts and bolts, all the brackets, training, and warranty. So
I'm more
So
concerned about the process, not the. I mean, I understand
the process. I understand the process, and I told you earlier in what I was telling you that we were going to go out for bids for all this. That this wasn't in stone, and we aren't committed in any way to Thalner. And they know it, and like I said, he did us a favor by giving me a starting point.
So what is the next step?
The next step is
okay, so we're going to do that, but besides that, I keep hearing it's 15-year-old equipment, so we need equipment. Is that the final? That's the point. Is if we need equipment, we're going to spend the money, but if we spend the money, we want to spend it wisely.
Well, I hope that that's my reputation for this department.
It's not about reputation. It's about the proper process.
We're not racing into this. There's no. I know what you want. I'm trying to slow you down too, because I don't want to make any decisions until I know what the political
The first step.
will is.
And in the meanwhile, what we could do is review this, look for vendors, discuss it. There's email is always going, and we could have a little private meeting if you'd like, a little special meeting.
I don't think there's a need for that, though.
I don't either.
There's no need for that, let's be honest here, because if we have to understand what are the requirements first. Once you have the requirements, then you go out for a bid. So I think really we've exhausted an extensive amount of time on this. I think really what we're seeing, you're both saying the same thing here, is the next steps are, Lauren will meet with the school board, get it together, have that meeting, understand what their wants and requirements are, see if it matches what it is, see if we're going to collaborate together, and then once we have that puts us into the requirement standpoint. Once you have the requirement standpoint, then you go for an RFP. Are we pretty straight?
If any of you
Okay.
have the need or want to tour, come in and work with me, and I'll show you everything we got and show you how it works and where it is and what we, show us what, the equipment that we do have. If you need a better understanding, just give me a call and I'll be happy to work with you.
The only one last comment I do have to make is that you mentioned in your comment about obviously you would like to retire, which is awesome. But my question is do you have a backup in place or somebody that you're thinking about that you're already training or will be training?
Well, like I said, I work with right now I'm down to about 3 main people. The lady that's in the control room right now has worked with me for 10 years.
Okay.
And there's nothing better she'd like to do is to do videos. She's in the medical field at the moment. But if I were to walk out here tomorrow, I'm sure her application would be in as I was walking out the door. The other, I work with a gentleman named Kelly Marcotte that does a lot of work with me. Filmmaker, he's worked for Racine, Wisconsin, worked for Comcast, works in the area. He's looking for a full-time job. And then the lady that I collaborated out of Riverview. So I have 2, 3.
There's multiple options.
Multiple options, and you guys will choose it.
In 6 years, and the whole world changes.
The
economy goes.
Yeah, he might not be
We'll
retiring.
be out at 75 or something.
Yeah, so, we belabored this enough. Lauren, you'll get back to all of us, and then we'll set up our meeting, and we can, in the meanwhile, review this, and feel free to talk to Ted, come in here and review the equipment that we have. It'd be important for everybody.
I totally agree with you. I just don't want to race ahead of it until we know.
No, I didn't either until you said you wanted to vote next month.
No, I was saying I wanted to, but since to do with the school, I want to back up. What I have, it's not even a vote on that, because what I have to do, so you understand, the next 6 weeks, there's going to be a lot of budgetary working, and I have to make a proposal in front of Brian and Eric and Ted, and there'll be discussions there if there's any will at all. If they don't have any will at all, the whole idea is going to die. Then I will finalize the budget, and they will approve it, and then it'll be presented again to a study session of the whole board, and it'll be discussed again. That's in March, all right? And when the specifics won't be discussed, the generalities, and after the board says, okay, we're willing to go in that direction, and then on the meeting, the public meeting, that's when the budget's finalized. After that, then we will explore the specifics. So we're not in any hurry. The only thing I'm trying to do is see if there's a will on the board. I'm going to present a budget that includes, those will be ideas, not specifics. And I'm going to present that budget to them, and they're going to have to say, yeah, we will allow you to do that, or no, we don't think this is a good year to do it, and then we'll proceed from there. This might be a moot point in 6 weeks.
Well, we've belabored this enough. Do you have any other things you want to discuss?
Just a couple of production things. We haven't done another show. We've got 2/3 of another ILI done, but Pam Pucci wants to do a roundtable discussion with the business leaders that she hasn't set up yet. So as soon as we do that, the next ILI will be in.
I think she has something, I think she's going to give you a call. I think she, yesterday, was able to get more people on board for that. She's hoping to maybe tape towards the end of this week. So I think she's going to give you a call on that.
Okay, and then the latest thing that we put up, and I just got it, we picked it up and put it on the computer tonight, is we've done a promo for the February 4th meeting, is it? February 4th meeting of the kayak
Informational meeting
that they're going to have at Centennial Farm, and we went over to Kayak Connections and did a promo with Kathy and the representative there, so I'll look for that starting this weekend. So basically that's it. So
Wait.
I got a sore throat.
Oh, Madam Chair, if I may. With mentioning the budget and with potentially going out for RFPs for new video, whether it's anytime in the next 3 to 6 months, but I know that we do have an RFP for a web redesign and upgrade. Is there room for both of those in the budget at this time, if that were to come to fruition?
Well, the RFP
Yeah,
is for
I
this
would think
year's
that'd be not a
budget.
problem at all with timing.
Okay.
The reality is, we haven't even gotten a bid yet. We've had 5 people interested.
Right.
It's just a start, then you start the dance.
Yeah. No, I just didn't know. I mean, if both of them were to come to a head, could
The
we?
31st, that would be capital. So, and
Okay.
the 31st of March, not a lot happens that quickly.
Right.
And
Just one last line.
you could tell us better, the speed of which a municipality's RFPs is perhaps not lightning.
No, I'm not saying it is, but I just wanted to know, as far as budget expense itself, is there room for
I
both?
believe that the website redesign comes out of this current
This year,
budget.
there's $6,000
Okay.
in the budget for that.
And what I think
think it's
you're looking to
7.
propose will go into the next
well,
one.
Yes, and that would be capital.
I'm going to go to the board and say, listen, this is my budget for 2013-14. I also need X amount of dollars to add for this year and next year as a capital improvement budget. So what I'm going to go in there with my hand and on my knees saying, give me an extra $30,000, can we spend an extra $30,000, and this is the plan on how I want to spend it.
But there's no specifics, it's just generality. You can't have
Well, I
it.
can't get specific until I know I can do it.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to kind of interject with, is the list that you presented us is the beginning or the kernel of that you can tell the board, this is the ballpark of what these things cost. And this is, and I think the message about we're operating on a prayer is that they need to understand there is some need
Sense of
now.
urgency,
We're not
right.
just dreaming.
Urgency, yeah.
Yeah, that we actually, if we want to continue broadcasting for the next year or two, we need to really start looking at it.
Ted Van Oss said, listen, I need some ideas. We need, if we're going to do this, because I basically presented the 3-year idea to him, the systems, and he says, we need some ideas, we need a plan on how we do it over a period of time, and I need some ideas for the cost.
And
that's what we've done.
Yeah, they want to know what these things cost.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Ted. Chairman report, pretty much Ted took it. We put in our RFP, it was published in the Yale Camera on the 14th. We're waiting to see who applies. I think it's exciting. It's exciting to see the interest. They're from all over the country, which is kind of interesting too. And also I was going to mention the kayak promo, which again, I encourage everyone to come down to Centennial Farm on Monday, February 4th at 7 p.m. And it'll be interesting to see what we can come up with for a program.
What's the kayak program?
Well, what we're trying to do is just have kayaking. Last year, there was a lot of, shall we say, exciting discussion by the board regarding where to kayak, and they don't have an organized kayak evening on the island offered. I contacted Dale, I've talked to Tim Rooney, and I talked to Riverside Kayaking, who already does these programs in the communities. And I said, do you have any night that you could do this, and it's no cost, to lead people around the community? And there's, we're an island. And so they said, yep, we can do it on Tuesday nights. We're very into safety, and they wanted to do it out of Water's Edge, where we have parking, where we have bathrooms, where we have a restaurant. And we're just going to see if people are interested. It would not be worth their while probably to do it for, 5 people, but if there's enough people that are interested, and I would say 15 to 50, is a good number, see if they want to do it. Do they want to go through the canals? And we've offered it to people outside the island. We have an interview with the News Herald. I'll be contacting the News and the Free Press, just trying to stimulate interest to bring people to the island, to show them how wonderful it is to live here, and to enjoy the island. It's great cardio, and I mean, the whole thing. It's just a wonderful thing. So they've been talking about it for years. Otis Conway, who I've had a long chat with, he tried this 20 years ago. And, they had a lot of interest, but it never happened. So they'll come here on Tuesday nights if everybody wants to do it at that meeting. And at 6 o'clock, we'll go out and paddle. And it's, pretty non-competitive.
And they actually do, one thing that Otis and Dick Weiss did a number of years ago is that they actually organized a training session for new kayakers in the Water's Edge pool.
Yes.
So that you could learn how to, tip over and get out safely, etc. And I think the Water's Edge, this is like the last of anything I know, right, that's still going. The Water's Edge Commission is really looking at Water's Edge, at the south part of their waterfront, as the beginnings, the seeds of a place where people can come to launch their kayaks. Maybe not build a launch, but create this and start getting, like how a few years ago they put up a skating rink in the parking lot at Water's Edge. And they built it and people came, and now we're building a real rink for rollerblading in the summer and skating on ice in the winter. And it took about 5 or 6 years, but it started really small.
Baby steps.
Just getting to see where people are interested. And I think what Kathy has tried to organize and bring together is that interest here.
Yeah, is it? And I think it is. But we'll find out. And one thing that we did discuss, because there's been all this commotion about how to launch and how to launch safely, and there are these, they're kind of like jet ski things you park your jet ski in that you can launch a kayak in. And they're temporary, they're not permanent, so you don't have to worry about the DEQ. And they're inexpensive, and we can get a couple from the township. Put them in, launch people out, and just enjoy Grosse Ile. I know they do it at the yacht club, and it works great. People enjoy it, but it's a private group. This is for public, and this is to bring people, not only to bring people from outside the island, but for the people on the island to enjoy Water's Edge, enjoy what we have. And kayaking is one of the fastest growing sports right now, and women especially are finding it to be very appealing. So, and you don't have to have a partner. It's not like golf where you need a foursome. You can come by yourself. It's very communal, and people are really getting excited about it. So I'm hoping it's a win for the community. That's the whole point.
Can you just keep in the back of your mind, what about like stand-up paddle boards too?
That is coming too, but
Yeah.
but I'll tell you, that's really hard. I watch the girls when they're doing it, and they go down. But you know what? Let's, again, baby steps.
Right.
There has been so much commotion about kayaking the past year that I just thought, why don't we settle it down? It gives something to offer the community, gives something to offer people to come over here, take a look at what we have. We have so many canals, and if we run out of the canals here, we can go over to Gibraltar, we can go into Wyandotte. There's so much here that you don't have at many places.
And we can mount a GITV camera.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They have those GoPro cameras.
In fact, my husband said that he would be happy to take our little boat and have the gentleman who did the promo to follow us around one night. He said, you can do it in a 17-footer. I got a little boat that I can maneuver. And it's just, I can't tell you the joy we've had going through the canals. People, they always smile when they see kayakers because they're so pretty, the boats, especially my new one. But, they're so pretty, and they really, it's non-invasive. There's no gas. There's no noise. You really can't have adult beverages when you're doing this too much. So there's not a lot of problems. It's just paddling and enjoying it. And it'd only be for about an hour to an hour and a half at night if the people are interested, if they come. And it's just...
Cool.
So that's Monday, February 4th, where at?
It's at Centennial Farms.
What time?
It's at 7 p.m. And everybody's invited to come. On island, off island, please come.
I think it was at Water's Edge.
Excuse me, no, we'll be paddling out of Water's Edge. It's at Centennial Farm, which is south of Bellevue and off of 3rd. And we'll have coffee there. I have a feeling we'll have some cookies, chocolates, and, entice people to come. And just see what they have to say. If they're interested, it seems like there's a big interest, and that's what we're doing it for. And one other thing, when we were at the meeting Monday night, Mr. Loftus, our supervisor, was talking about putting up, is it Nextel, Ted? That is Nixle.
Yeah, Nixle.
And that we could probably invite the people that are on our Facebook, the township Facebook, to migrate over. Mm-hmm. So that's something we can look into doing, do an invite of some sort.
I called them up twice, and they haven't got it. We used to have it,
Uh-huh.
and there was absolutely no response to it for like 2 years, so I took it off and I let it lapse. So I called them up to see if we could just renew it and get it back on. So hopefully by the end of the week or next week we'll have it done.
And if it's on, then we could invite people from our Facebook to go and see if they have interest in it.
Well, now anything you put on Nixle automatically goes on Facebook or goes on Twitter.
There you go. So we already have more interest than we had before. Okay, so that's all I have. New business. And the new business, we were talking about next year's chairman.
Well, if you don't mind me being the new girl on the commission, I would like to make a motion to appoint Kathy Walker to serve as another term as chairperson of the Communication Commission.
Thank you.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess
Opposed?
everybody-
Okay, thank you. I accept. Thank you. Do we have a discussion on anything we have not talked about?
I guess maybe it's too early, but we could make another motion so that Ted can and Lauren can bring this information to the board, is to make a motion to continue televising our Communication Commission meetings for 2013.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and we have a motion, a second, and it is passed. Any other points, Uta? No. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, we did, right at the beginning. Yeah, right at the beginning. I thought, oh, wait a second.
No, we did the
We
agenda.
agenda, you're right. You're right, we did not approve the minutes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Has everybody reviewed the minutes? I thought it was the, any comments or corrections? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Second?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
I'm just going
And-
to abstain because I wasn't here.
Great,
so.
not a problem. Okay, anything else? And thank you for pointing that out. I thought, I combined the two. Combined the two.
The meeting on the 13th is at 7 PM again, or
Yes, it is.
7:30?
Is that okay with everyone, the timing of it?
Yep.
Okay, I know you come a long way,
It's
and
a
I
long
and I know you come a long way, Sean. So we want to make sure everybody can attend it as often as possible. Alrighty, if everybody's on board, yes.
You're saying the minutes in the minutes on demand.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, so you might just want to mention that where they can find the minutes, they're on the minutes on demand page on the webpage now instead of the.
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing it minutes on demand so that we have we're consistent with the township, and it makes it a lot neater.
Great. And then Ted, you will actually add Uda's name to the website? Add Uda's name to the website so that she's listed as a member? Okay. All right, whatever it takes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
Motion to
motion.
adjourn?
Second?
Second.
And we are adjourned at 8:35.